Well, Joe, for everyone that does not know you, that hasn't had the pleasure of getting to know you, if I asked you who Yusuf Ulomi is, what would you say?
Say a caring individual. Caring individual, constantly trying to bring meaning back to everything. And my biggest attribute, and I think what would characterize me the best, is that I truly believe and operate from the idea that by bringing meaning to what's outside of me, to what's around me, I will enrich what's inside of me. And then vice versa, by bringing meaning to what's inside of me. By that I mean by appreciating it and giving it respect, the voice within you, what you like, what you don't like, what you hate, and respecting that and pushing forward what it wants to be representing. I find that is, if not the best way of simultaneously enriching yourself, but also enriching the whole of what's outside, because it's all contained in there. That's why my biggest thing is, you already have everything you seek.
Yeah. So, if we already have everything that we need inside of us, then why do you think we as human beings seek so much outside of ourselves to fulfill us?
I think part of the biggest reason, and at least for me, like from the reason I can think I go outside of myself, to find meaning, to find myself, so to speak, is I just feel like it's from a given perspective, things become very clear that we are shrouded with this mystery. And this mystery is very alive. It's very vivid.
Yeah.
And I think
life is a mystery.
Yeah. And I think maybe it's just, a consequence of like today's generation, or just today, our times today with all the technology and all the science. We have this sort of hubris. Okay, we have this hubris in thinking that, we have this attitude of everything has been figured out. And, and it's business as usual, and it's Wednesday when we say it's Wednesday, and that's the only goddamn thing it is, and you're gonna do the routine you do on Wednesday, and that's all. That's the only thing that's possible. And it's like,
but all that is, though, is those are thoughts and systems that people put in place that we feed our thoughts into. And that's the only reason why they exist.
What do you mean by thoughts?
So, take for instance your sock. Okay, your sock would not exist if someone that came before you did not think, yo, my toes are cold, so I'm gonna stick my toes in this animal fur, so they don't freeze. We wouldn't have socks or shoes, right? And those are things or thoughts that someone else created and manifested on this plane of reality that we are currently in. And because they did and we do, it exists today.
I agree.
Right? And so you think about something like a job, that was set up because it was the system behind a bunch of thoughts that we then feed into. I just think about schools, you know, like especially here in the United States, like started back in the 1800s. Like they were only made to teach people how to obey orders because they wanted workers. That's why it's been 200 years since we actually changed the way we did it because it works. It's predictable.
True. I mean, going back to like your question in relation to why would someone keep on chasing? Why would someone keep on chasing for fulfillment if everything is already in you, right? Why would someone fall in that trap of being a puppet, you know, of carrying out a series of tasks that shallowly, like, you know, somehow bring meaning? And maybe it's not my place to say that, you know, but that's why
it's a 600,000 foot view.
Right. I mean, but so from like a personal point of view, from like where I come from, let's say as an artist, going back again to your question of why I go ahead and find the meaning, or not even find meaning, why do I go ahead and do the artworks and all that stuff, in light of the fact that all that you need is already in you. I don't think by the realization that all that you need is contained within you necessarily takes away the sense of adventure. And I think it does not take away this sense of adventure of us continuously expressing, because when you look closely, it becomes very abundant that our purpose, if there's any, is completely, should be devoid of any ideas, but rather what's just happening. And when you look at what's happening, it's just expression. When you look at what's happening, it's just infinite expression that is constantly novel, like constantly, you know, new, at least to the beholder. So, being that, you know, exactly. So, I mean, when you know, I have this thought experiment. What's God, right? God is this omnificent, omniscient, omnipresent, you know, all-seeing, all-being, all whatever, you know, controlling and everything. Infinite. When you ask yourself, what's the one limit that God would have?
To have a limit?
Yes. Yes. To have a limit. But our existence brings meaning to that question. Our existence brings answer to that conundrum. So if you were a God being, which you are, you would want to experience yourself in all sorts of facets, all sorts of ways. You already know that you're grander. You already know that you're infinite and bigger in scale. But when you're at that scale, there is no subjective experience. See, there's no subjective experience when everything is happening at the same time. It's only when something is happening at a finite amount of scale, at least so we think, at least to our perception, that meaning becomes. And you see, and then what do you mean? Someone might ask, what do you mean meaning becomes? Well, for once, God is actually able to do what he could not, which is to be limited. To be limited, yet still be completely in control of it all. The trick works. It's like a dream. When we dream, we have to completely forget that we live in this world, that there's a reality, that my name's Kiam, for that dream to be a dream. When you're in a dream, you don't worry about your bills. You don't even know you. It's the same nature, and that's the same way we're here. I think, at least that's how I see it. So when I come from, like, when I'm just sitting, chilling in my room, and I'm like, all right, I feel all sorts of feelings. Let's say I'm reading or I'm learning all sorts of different things about myself, about the world, about what's around me, and it makes me curious because it's like, oh, I didn't know that before, and in that curiosity is created. I didn't know that before, but if I was in the state of omnipresent, omnibenevolent, like, just all knowing and everything, that would be lame. It would be really lame. It would be like telling me like how to tie my shoes or something. Not even, because it's like I've been there, done that. It's only in the new. So for me, it's like I want to push the envelope. I want to push it. Part of it.
It's like your heart beating.
Exactly.
It just happens.
It just that's exactly why it's doing that. It's doing that because it's creating. That's the life. People are always asking the question, why? What's the meaning to life? You see, it shows something wrong with that question. There's something wrong with that question because the question entails you've already made a split between you and life. It's almost like you're making a critique of life. You're making a critique of existence. Let's say existence instead of life. Because when you ask that question, it's like, what's the meaning to existence? We talk about it. There shouldn't be any split because existence in itself is the unknown, but it's also the known. It's known because it's happening right in front of our eyes. And then we all run around and we say, we don't know what it is. But then we're like, no one actually looks. We see it, but we don't. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So it's positing a question and answering itself right in front of our eyes. Then you might be like, what is it? I might just say, who's asking the question? That's the thing. That's the thing. It just landed you into a new domain by giving you the ability to even ask a question, entertaining the fact that maybe there's some new information that I don't know about that might excite me from where I am now, because where I am now is limited. See?
I do.
Yeah, and then, but it's infinitely scaled because God is already existing right now in this moment in His infinite, in her infinite nature, which is us, which is you, which is everything. So the limited nature within it is going to infinitely express itself, but each expression will be finite. Because it's ever going. It's contained within something that does not have a seal to it.
Yeah. I don't know, when you think about that, and you think about, like, at least me, when I think about the universe, I think about how our planet's personalities, like, what they are.
Like astrological thinking. Kind of
yeah.
Stuff. Yeah.
I'm like, what does the sun think? Because to think that we can think and, like, we can be, intelligent and, like, as expressive, for short a time as we exist. To think that a planet that we exist in, or the goddamn sun that makes us this whole thing happen,
I'm so
isn't, like, intelligent or, like, you know what I mean?
I'm so happy you said that. I'm so happy.
How could you be so ignorant? Does, like, intelligence come from unintelligence? Like, no, that doesn't make any sense.
No.
That, like, it's like, it's ridiculous.
And it's funny too. It's like you can't. So, like, we're made of stars. You can say that. You can say we're made of stars. Maybe not our sun, but many, many stars, many, many years ago, right? Probably, that whole wrap. So you can't really separate between, like, someone who would be asking that question, right? Of, like, What's the sun thinking? Well, who told you you're not part of the sun? What's your description of the sun? Is it the low spherical ball? Because it goes way further. It goes way further in space. And then it goes way further in time. That's the fourth dimensions now. It happens like that. So we are matter binded, three-dimensional matter binded in four-dimension, the temporal factor. Because of that, it's so easy to, when we look outside, we just gaze at the three-dimensional aspect. We see things passing. We make an insight that there's time passing, so therefore we get the idea that there's such a thing as time. It's just our rationality out of it. But since we can't experience that matter subjectively, the matter that's quote-unquote outside of us, since we can experience it subjectively outside of ourselves simultaneously, this in our conscious mind, since we can't do that, there's a disconnect. Thank you for your time and attention, my friends, and just remember, at the end of the day, all art is just expression, and everything is expression. So let's keep on expressing.